Hi, my name's Tim Wagner. I'm an international speaker and professional pointer. And in this program today with Prosper, we're going to be discussing about my journey of how I went from high-stressed corporate environment to finding my true passion and my path. And one of the key catalysts of this is breathwork. So I'm also a breathwork alchemist, where I use breathwork to help activate that inner healing journey within so that you can find your path.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And today, we've got a guest whose journey is nothing short of transformative. Now, Tim, how are you doing today?
Prosper, absolutely amazing. Every day and every way, stronger and stronger. And how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I thought you were going to be like,
Yeah. We'll get there.
All right, great stuff. I'm really excited about this show today. And for those that are watching right now, thank you so much for tuning into the Online Prosperity Show. I want you to imagine something. All right. Having dedicated almost 3 decades into a high-paced hospitality career, and to be precise, that was 27 years. And we were just joking before with Tim, likening that time to the time that Mandela took and was also in prison. So there's going to be a lot of similarities with that, but his was a great walk to freedom that we're going to be exploring on this particular show today. So you can imagine you're in a high-paced hospitality career only to find yourself at the brink of burnout. I mean, hospitality has a lot of stoves and hot areas in there, so maybe that was what was actually burning Tim, but it wasn't that. It was the actual work and the grind in and of itself. So you can imagine you've dedicated those 3 decades and you now start questioning the essence of your own existence. Is that all there is? And this was the reality that Tim had to face, and he turned himself now into an international speaker, high performance coach, and he is now walked away having rediscovered his purpose. I'm hoping he'll be able to explain to us how he did that and how that came to be, because his path from being burnt out in hospitality has led him to become a beacon for business leaders and teams, guiding them back to break free from stress and burn out themselves. And he also is aligning personal purpose with professional success. Now, Tim, at the risk of me burning out trying to introduce you because of all this string of accolades, tell us a little bit about your journey and what it was like in that 27 years, my man.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Prosper. That introduction is like, jeepers, is that me? Is that what I do? That's impactful. It's powerful stuff, man. I've got to listen to me. So I'm going to listen to the recording. I love the analogy that you had of Mandela, 27 years in prison there, and relating 27 years in hospitality in prison as well. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be. And it wasn't all. I mean, come on, it's not all that bad. The question was that I had when I walked out of that environment, why? How come after so many years of working in a high-stressed, high-pressure environment, shifts, the people, the dynamics, the seasons, the government, the economy, all these things that continue all the time, that never changes, all those external factors. Why now was I not able to handle it anymore? And I didn't get it. I couldn't understand after so many years that now I was just seeming to crash inside, and I was slowly withdrawing and not having impact in the business anymore, that what was going on in the work was now impacting negatively on my family life, which what was happening at home was then impacting negatively on the business I was running. And it was like that wheel that I was just going, and the cogs weren't turning any longer. It was just getting slower and more difficult to actually operate. And that's why I walked out. I just had no idea what was going on. But at the time, I knew 3 things. If I was going to stay, I was either going to kill someone, because I was just not a good person, angry, frustrated. It was just intense. I was going to die, or worse, I was going to get divorced. It was just not acceptable to me. And I knew something had to change. But in that place, in that state of not being able to think rationally, and perhaps somebody listening is going to go, yeah, I can't think properly. It's that fog that you have over your face and your brain when you wake up in the morning and you just wish for another hour's sleep. And then you think about all the stress and the pressure of the day. And it's just like getting whacked with a heavy wave of this anxiety that just hits you. And you realize, but something's got to change. I just don't know what. That's why I quit. That's why I got out. And I thought I need to go on a journey. And exactly as you said, it was a journey of discovery. I asked myself two questions. Who am I? And why am I here? I didn't know the answers. And Prosper led me on a 4-year journey of discovery to try and find those answers. And in the end, the answers only came to me when I reached out for help, not realizing, even though I've been doing coaching and mentoring for many, many years. I started coaching and mentoring sort of on sideline businesses in 2008, so a long time. But even then, I hadn't realized that the problem situation I was sitting in was due to the way I was thinking. And in order to change how I was thinking, I had to change my dynamics, my paradigms. And the only way I was going to do that was finding out from somebody else how to think differently. I couldn't do it myself. And it was when I reached out to a coach, to a mentor, to somebody who had trodden the path before me of where I was and where I was finding the struggle and the stress and the strife and all these issues, that then I started to get clarity. And so that was a key trigger point for me. There's a number of them. And that was really the first one, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. That's the beginning of the journey.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us through that, episode in your life. But for those that are watching right now, I mean, hospitality is quite a diverse sort of industry. What sort of roles were you involved in? And just maybe give us a glimpse into what your day-to-day looked like.
Well, hospitality, as anybody knows who's ever been to a restaurant or to a hotel, it's 24/7. It doesn't stop. And that was always for years, we had to deal with that in the marriage and in our relationship with my son and the family dynamics, that when everybody's on holiday, I'm working. When everybody's working, I'm on holiday. So straight away, you've got a very different dynamic that does add a stress and a pressure. And so you have to sacrifice a lot of things in your own personal capacity, in your personal life for your family. Because after all, why else are you working? Well, it's for your family, primarily, for them, first and foremost. So you also want to make sure there's a balance, which in hospitality is not always easy. In fact, it's very rare to find somebody who's been in hospitality 27 years who has still the same marriage. And there's a high amount of divorce because of the strains and stresses. Now, the business that I was running for the last 7.5 years in Cape Town is a very high pressure one, 24/7, 365, massive business. And it was an incessant amount of ongoing stress and pressure that I was building up without having a release. So it was a consistent, imagine those cartoon characters and you see, as they're getting angrier, the red builds, right? Until it gets to the top and the steam comes out your ears and there's an explosion. Well, this is the state. You just permanently full red, permanently. And even when you sleep, you're not sleeping. 4 hours a night. I thought, you know what? If I can get 4 hours just closing my eyes, that's enough. Sure, that's a big lie, man. That's a serious precursor to burnout. Anything less than 5 hours. And I wasn't managing to reset. So the pressure of the work, ongoing, in an environment that, and here's a key trigger and a point I only realized later, an environment that was not aligned to my values. Let me backtrack. Ask yourself, when you started in your first job, your first career, why did you start? What was that key thing that you said, I'm going to go on this path? What was the attraction to becoming a teacher, a lawyer, an accountant, a producer, a speaker, whatever it is? Why? And have a look years later. Is that why the same? The reason, or has it changed? And this is where, over the years, I got lost. It's a very quick story. When I first went into hospitality, I was 19, I think it was. And I went in because I wanted to travel. I was living in the UK. I studied in the UK. And I thought, what is a universal business that I can go anywhere in the world and get a job? Hospitality, waiter, barman. Great. So I did that. So it was my passion of travel that became the thing. Then I came back to South Africa. This was in 95, came back to South Africa. I was born in South Africa. And I came back in 95. And I thought, wow, there's opportunities here. Man, this country is now waking up. This is fantastic. And I came back. Then it became about building my career. Got married, family, buy the car, go into debt, get a house, go into debt. The kid goes to school, more debt. So then over years, it went from being about building a career. Now I had the title. Yay. Big deal. What was the title? More stress, less hours, a little bit more money. Then after that, it didn't become about the career. In my 40s, it became about the money. The career done. I'm a career, wow, big deal. Got the title, yay, GM this, whatever that title in the C-suite executive level, yay. But it became about the money. That's when I started to get lost because I chased the money. I effectively sold my soul to the devil for 7 years. And not realizing it at the time, that was drawing me further and further and further away from my authentic nature, which was I loved hospitality for the upliftment of the team, of the people, the training and the education, but I got lost. And I chased the money. We had a good life. We had a beautiful house, new car in the driveway, overseas holidays, cash in the bank. It was lovely. Outside, friends and family saw Tim as successful. Stressed, yes, but isn't stress a part of business? Suck it up, get on with it, right? Is this what we're told? But inside, I was lost. I was angry, I was upset, I was frustrated. Often I didn't even have enough energy to be angry. And I didn't know I was sliding in this curve from well-being to burnout. I didn't know what burnout was. I had no concept at the time. And years later, I realized I started to disconnect from my authentic nature. One side is your authentic person, the person that you were born to be, who you are, why are you here? What are your values, your true ingrained personal ones? And I was disconnecting. So I was working harder, fighting harder, doing more hours to make more money. And all those negative, hard-driven words, and I was going further and further and further and further away. And if you stay in that state for long enough, it's like being pulled by this elastic band. And eventually, if that band snaps, that's burnout. You got a choice. Let go and discover your true nature to find your true path, or burnout. And burnout is, I believe a lot of people understate the true negative impact on your life and your family's life if you actually hit burnout. It's devastating, right? Devastating.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for painting a vivid picture. Now, you know what, Tim? The irony of all of this is you literally were being paid to entertain other people, which meant people were coming to you for fun and enjoyment, relaxation, calm, and everything else. Whereas the effect of that was actually causing you to want to kill, or, you being angry, or maybe tantamount to divorce. Now, I want us to maybe go into that part because you've spoken about the anger and the actual, obviously not exactly in those words, but proverbially wanting to kill. Were you not enjoying the glitz and the glam that comes with working in hospitality, which was the thing that assigned or attracted you to the thing in the first place?
Yes and no. I loved seeing the satisfaction in the clients. I loved seeing the staff and the team achieve and the waiters hit their targets and get the good tips and the customers being happy. Yes, that definitely filled me up. So it's not all a negative thing. But that's all an external. It's not an internal. My strife was internal, not external. Did I love running the business, and did I get passionate about it, and did I turn up every day and do my best? Yes. For when I was focused on the people, which is a value of mine, the people, the upliftment, the growth, the coaching, creating an environment where the team, the waiters, the barmen, the managers, the cleaners, the cooks, the chefs, everybody could be better versions of themselves, that filled me up. But my focus was financially driven, which is not aligned. And that's where the disconnect came. I was heavily incentivized. I also had my own businesses on the side, which I had to make more money. There was finance, money, get more money, have a better holiday, get a new car, all that stuff in society. Wow, okay, time running out. I'm nearly getting 50. By 50, I need to have X amount in the bank because I know when I retire, I need to have X amount in order to be able to retire. I can't afford to retire. I need to make money now. All that stuff goes round and round and round. Society, programmed states. So yes, I loved the environment of seeing people have joy and be entertained and a great meal and relax and have a party and fun. Like I said, that's external. My challenge was internal. And I wasn't looking after self. I was looking after everybody else.
Absolutely. And you can't give off what you don't have. You literally would start, breathing fumes. Now, there's a statement that you said earlier on that it was the thinking. I think it was Einstein that mentioned that the thinking that got you here is not the thinking that will take you out of that particular scenario. First of all, I know that fish don't see the water that they swim in, and neither can people see the air that they breathe. Was it just Tim who was noticing this, or was this now something that you could notice in and amongst the people that you were also working with, or in this particular time?
That's an excellent question, and here's why it's a real spot on one. When you're in that specific state, and there's a term that I've only recently realized or understood, and it's called brownout. I'll come back to that in a moment. I'm going to drop that for you. But when you're in this state of brownout, which is not quite burnout, but highly anxious for long periods of time, you can't see what's happening to other people around you. Because internally, you're not functioning cognitively. Your brain, in fact, is not getting enough oxygen. You're not sleeping, you're not resting, your nervous system's shot. You're not able to think rationally. You can't find solutions to the problems. All you see are problems. You're drawn to negativity. You can't see neutral. You can't see positive. But you don't know in that state. You don't know. It's a little bit like trying to have a rational discussion with a drunk person. You just don't bother.
And
right?
they're not drunk. I'm not drunk.
No, not today. And so often having a rational discussion with somebody who's in the state that I was in is not always possible. You're going to hit objectives. You're going to hit problems all the time. It's difficult. It's a challenge. I can't do this. Listen to somebody's language. You can identify this. So what that means is when you personally are in that state, that frame of mind, you're not seeing it in other people. You can't identify it in anybody else. Others can look at you and go, something's wrong. Why is this guy so angry? A lot of people then go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you are depressed. Let's give you a pill. Oh, you've got high blood pressure. Let's give you a pill. You've got erratic heartbeat. Let's give you a pill. All of which are symptoms of being in a highly anxious state without asking you about your diet, your stress, your home life, your work life, when you last had a good night's sleep, have you had a holiday, all these useful things. They look at the symptom. And that's what we look at in society because we're taught to do that. So it's very difficult to know in yourself the position you're in, very difficult for other people who are in the same state to recognize it in somebody else. So did somebody recognize it in me? Yes, my wife. But because the home life stress was now so high due to the work life, it fed, there was no relationship. So I couldn't understand her and she couldn't understand me. And that's where you have this challenge of how do you now break outside? So something has to snap, something has to change. And often it would be a very dramatic experience. Something massive will go wrong for that to change. Because after all, as humans, we only take action for two reasons. You're either inspired to take action, or something dramatic happens and then you take action. But very rarely is it due to inspiration. Most of the time, you have those massive 180 shifts when something serious goes wrong. Divorce, death in the family. You get fired because you're not performing. Suddenly, I knew something was wrong. I had no idea. And one day, it's called a quiet quitter. Internally, you're disengaged. Externally, you're still turning up, you're performing, you're working, you're there, you're doing what's needed, But internally, you slowly but silently disengage until one day you quietly quit. And that was it. That's why it's called quiet quitters. And companies are struggling with this a lot because they're not associating the internal state of the high performer. They're looking at the performance on the outside. They're not looking at who that individual is and what's going on internally. Yeah. Although I say quietly quitting, when I actually did quit, it wasn't quiet. It was not. That was a challenging moment, I can tell you that much. But there was that moment of breaking, and that's when I said, "That's it, I'm done."
No, you hinted on a word, brownout. Is it
brownout?
The brownout thing? Is that what starts happening when people are quiet quitting, that they start entering into that phase? And yes, maybe you could walk us through that one there.
So when I walked out, and for about 6 years, I then struggled to understand what actually was going on internally, physically, but I didn't get it, like I mentioned earlier on. And over only recently, maybe the last 5-6 months, I've come to really get clarity on this. I read an article by Professor Kibler from Harvard University. And he coined the phrase brownout, which is a silent withdrawal internally from what you're actually doing. So as I've described my state, internally I was withdrawing. I wasn't there fully. I wasn't passionate about it and what I was doing anymore. But externally, I was still turning up and performing the work. So I've come to create what's called a well-being curve. And on a well-being curve, at the start, everybody operates well in good space. They're psychologically connected. They're well of mind, body, spirit. They're good relationships. They're performing. They're in a well-being is quite a big word at the moment, like psychological safety in the corporate environment. Great. So there. But then over time, due to external stresses, internal stresses, and we all operate in a stress environment, there's good stress and bad stress. Talking about when good stress, which is motivating and keeps you working and focused and hitting your deadlines, good stress. We need that pressure. But when you're in that state for too long, it can turn negative. Negative stress is then leading over time to anxiety. So now you're going on this curve. You're now anxious, and anxiety is where you're stressed even though there's no external stressor negatively impacting you. So nothing bad's going on, but you're still stressed. It's called fear, fight, flight. You're activating your sympathetic nervous system. Talking about breathing now, I'll come to that. Where you're in the state of panic, fear all the time. You're permanently alert. It's not good for your body. So now you're becoming anxious. I am feeling anxious. I've got a state of anxiety. These are words people use. I am anxious. Stressed to anxiety. Now you can sit in anxiety for many years. And on the well-being curve, eventually it leads to burnout. Now, for me, I never hit burnout. I was anxious, but it was beyond that. It was like this no man's land, this gap between burnout and anxiety. And it was when I read this article that he coined this phrase, brownout, as a state between anxiety and burnout, where you're slowly and silently disengaging from your work, from the environment, until one day you quietly quit. So that's the state of brownout. And now I've come to understand, when I read that article for the first time, I said, somebody gets me. And Prosper, you know the amazing thing? Since I've started to speak to my clients and a few corporates and teams about the state of brownout, I've had people coming to me and going, you get me. I can't describe how I feel to my boss, to my spouse, to my friends. They don't understand me. What you're talking about is me. Now, here's the thing. Remain in brownout without realizing what's going on leads to burnout. So anxiety and stress, just quickly, anxiety and stress are emotional states. Burnout is a complete physical and mental breakdown. When you hit burnout, you're done. You're in bed, you cannot get out. That's it. No energy, you can't argue anymore. You don't have any energy to argue. Your body starts crashing. Your nervous system says, I'm done. Dis-ease comes into count. And according to the World Health Organization, 25% of people who hit burnout end up hospitalized with chronic medical conditions. It's serious. And around the world, ever since COVID, over the last nearly 5 years, because people in high-functioning environments have been continuously maintaining that in order to survive, to keep their businesses going. In 2024, you saw a massive spike in burnout because they haven't taken a break. It's that consistent ongoing pressure. Stress and anxiety and then brownout are the warning signs. Now you're feeling less energy. You're starting to withdraw. You're getting angry when you didn't used to. Those are warning signs. And your body and your mind and your soul are sending them to you to say, hey, something's wrong here. Listen to the warning signs and take action to reverse the curve, which can be done. I've seen it done very quickly. In a few months, you can reverse that curve. But if you don't, your body, am going to shut down. Dangerous place to be.
I know. See, Tim, you just made me have so many visuals here. You know, when the car lights up the check engine light, I think that they should just change that from check engine to this stuff is going to cost you. Because have you ever noticed if you ignore that, the engine knocks and that's it. You can't get it working together. But also with the brownout thing, I must admit, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I was actually just thinking what fruit would represent what you're talking about, and I couldn't think of anything real quick. And the avocado came in the picture here, because the avocado presents well and everything else, but if you open it after a bit of a while, it's already gone inside. It's brown and everything else. And this whole thing just gave avocado and toast a whole new meaning, because
all right, that's a good analogy. But can I share where the word brownout actually comes from?
Yes, please.
So brownout is actually the name that you give to the drop in voltage of electricity. So a light bulb is glowing, the voltage dips, so the light bulb dims. It's still glowing, but it's dimmer. That's called brownout. So the same with your energy in your body. You're still there, you're still showing up, but you don't have the same amount of voltage of energy. So internally, you're dimming, you're withdrawing, you're getting less energy, you can see less things, you're able to focus, it gets more difficult to get out of bed. So it's the same as a light bulb dimming. So that's where the term brownout actually comes from.
I like that. Thank you so much. I mean, obviously, this is newfound knowledge for a lot of people. And if you're listening right now, this is your chance to subscribe, to the Online Prosperity Show so you don't miss out on any of these exciting insights like this. Now, Tim, obviously, you introduced us to the team that was high stakes. At 40, everything was now about money, which means also the trappings started to increase. You know, your lifestyle increased, cars, homes, whatever it is that, you know, is lined up. Now, having to leave such a high paying job could have been daunting, in as much as you did mention mortgages were now obviously rearing their head and things of that nature. What sort of fears did you have to grapple with during this transition, but you still did it anyway?
In that moment, I had no consideration to the impact of my decision to walk out and leave a high-paying job with a salary and bonuses and incentives, and that was not a rational thought. In this state, you're not thinking rationally. It was just something that I knew had to happen. And I was very fortunate that something internally said to me, get out now. So at that moment, no rational thought of the consequences. Down the line, yes. And that added a whole unique paradigm of stress and anxiety, which was different. But that was more positive stress than the negative stress that I was feeling before. Although internally, I still didn't know what was going on, and I was on my journey. I went on a mission, as I said earlier, to go and discover who am I and why am I here. So I mentioned also that I've had, since 2008, my own businesses on the side of my career and my job. I've had businesses of my own for many, many years. So I had something that I could climb into to at least maintain some type of cash flow, to not lose the house. And I just climbed from the corporate, which was around building somebody else's dream and vision in there, to building my own. That was a different passion. So I started to find a lot of fulfillment in that, in my own businesses that I was growing. However, 4 years, started and failed, wrong word, there's a different word for it, started and did not succeed in 4. Made money, lost money, made money and did 4 times before I eventually turned around and said, hold on. The universe, God, creator, somebody's sending me a message here. Why 4 times in 4 years, now to nothing? Again, I was going down the wrong path. I wasn't looking at who I am. Life was great. I was doing things and it was different. I had freedom and I had a bit more peace and calm, but I still hadn't discovered who I was. And it was only when I went on that journey of discovery that leads me to where I am and what I'm doing. So to answer that question, at the moment, at that time, that extra stresses was not a rational thought. It wasn't. And I know for a lot of people who are in corporate say, but I can't afford to stay. My question is, can you afford to stay? Because you're staying for money. How much is your health worth? If you stayed because you needed that salary without looking internally and going, I can stay here, but I need to work out what I do to reverse myself on that curve. If you don't change something dramatic and you're identifying something needs to change, you will hit burnout. And people that I've spoken to have hit burnout take 5, 6, even 7 years before they recover to be able to start working. So how much is the cost of you hanging around and not changing something? But here's the great news for people who go, oh, but I don't want to leave. It's too scary. Don't. I would never encourage somebody to walk out the job the way that I did. I'm not saying that. No, don't. Stop. What I'm saying is reach out to somebody for help and guidance who's been where you are, the Tims of the world, the other coaches of the world. Reach out for that guidance and help to learn what you can start to put into place to reverse yourself and get yourself out of a state of brownout, anxiety, stress, to finding that well-being state, that fulfillment, that harmony, that peace. Because you can find it. And it goes back to helping identify, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What is of value to me? How do my values align with the company values? And that's the next key subject matter here, is to say, if your values, your true personal values, which are different from societal ones. Societal values are trust, integrity, love, Those are deemed as values of any rational person in society, right? But these are personal ones. When you know your personal values, you have a look, are they aligned to this company I'm in or my business or my job? If there's an alignment, great. If there isn't an alignment, that could be what's causing you a lot of stress and anxiety because you're now working outside of your core passion and values. You can't align your values to a business. You must make sure the business is aligned to your values, which means you may need to change jobs, but you don't have to do it as dramatically as I did.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that, because somebody would have just, hit stop watching this and then all of a sudden they're tilting all the tables in whatever restaurant they're working in saying, Tim made me do it. But
I'm saying.
But you keep repeating the fact that you sought out people that had taken the path that you wanted to go to and the things that you wanted to achieve. Now, let's maybe establish one thing here. While you were now in this circle or this holding pattern of being in this limbo, did you actually know what you were looking for or what you wanted? Because so many people, because they don't quite know what that is, it makes it very difficult for them to take that leap and then also to then know who will be the best person to latch onto, so to speak. So in your case, was this clarity there already, or was it still yet another shot in the dark?
I was shooting wildly in the dark for many, many years. I did not know. But here was the ridiculous thing. When I discovered, or uncovered, I should say, what is innate in me as a big passion of mine, which is what I do now and have been doing for 2.5 years and will continue to do until the day that I take my last breath, is that I already knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know I knew it until I knew it. And that sounds a little bit cookie. Okay. So here's what I did, and I'll share this openly because it's freely available to anybody. There's a phenomenal personal development coach guide out there. It's available, and he's got free things. There's an amazing amount of free things out there on the internet available for you. It really is. That can start you on a journey. It's not going to get you where you want to go succinctly, quick enough, and sustainably, but it'll definitely start you. And I'd been on programs of Dr. John DeMartini. Have you heard of him before?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think
phenomenal.
My bookshelf is littered with.
Right. So I've done John DeMartini's workshops for many, many years, but I hadn't really applied the teachings. How often that happens. We all know how to lose weight, but how many people actually apply the principles? Okay. So Dr. Jen, I'd done it. I go, oh, that's interesting. So I went on one of his workshops, and it was a paid one. I believe there's a very, very big value. It's called cut a check for speed. In other words, you need to pay it to have that value that you're putting in, you're going to get value out. So I went on one of his workshops, and I did something called his values principles. Anybody can go on to DeMartini and go to look at the value principles. And when I went on and I did that exercise, and this was probably now the third time maybe that I've done it over many, many years. When the results of that exercise came up, it identified my key 3 values: education, business, and health. In that order. Right? Education, business, and health. I love learning. Personal development has been a passion of mine since 2008. I love learning. I love business. The business, not for the making of the money, that's the result. Yes, I love what money gives me, and it's the lifestyle and freedom, and 100%. But it's the business for the people. It's what business gives me. So education, business, and then health. Health came big because at the time my health was still not strong. I hadn't recovered from that state of being in brownout. To a certain extent, I was still there, but I was already sliding backwards. And when I realized that, I went, but that's me. In 2018, I'd started a business called Wellness, Wealth, and Wisdom Legacy. It was just a name I came up. In my business, I was teaching people how to make money, and just a business environment that I had, and I was focusing on health. But I didn't realize then my subconscious was busy telling me a story. So I knew, but I didn't know. When I did that, I then started to ask different questions. And those questions that I was asking, in a world of infinite possibilities, what do I need to do to find my path? In a world of infinite possibilities. Wonderful question. I love that. And can I share with you that light bulb moment? I'm sure you've had it, and anybody's listening. You've had that moment of clarity when something happened and it was like a trigger, and you went, that's the answer.
That's it.
Right. It came to me in the most profound way. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for this. And it happened years after I'd walked out of my job of 27 years, my career of 27 years. I was actually researching, how do I train to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa, when I live at sea level? I've always loved fitness and health. It's been a thing of mine. I've never been a massive sports person, not for many, many years, but I've always remained fit and healthy. And I was just Googling, how do I train? And this thing called breathwork came up. What do you mean breathwork? What do you mean breathing? I think I was 50 at the time, Prosper. And I thought, I've got 5 decades of experience. I'm still here. I'm pretty good at this stuff.
That was the first thing I did.
I thought, come on. Man, was I wrong. And you know the first thing that I learned, and there's a connection to my story here, I'm getting to this. The first thing I learned was, if you're in a state of stress or anxiety, fear, panic, the first thing that you do to calm yourself is shut your mouth and breathe through your nose. What? What do you mean, shut my mouth and breathe through your nose? Now, when you think about it, if you're in a space of panic, somebody's having a panic attack, how do they breathe? Mouth, short, shallow breaths in and out your chest. Heartbeat goes up, blood pressure goes up. The same state that you're in if you're stressed or in anxiety. You breathe through your mouth, you breathe fast, your heartbeat goes up, your blood pressure goes up. How do you slow all of this stuff down? Breathe through your nose. It naturally acts as a tranquilizer for your nervous system and calms you. Just do it. And you realize, I feel calmer. So I thought, this is fascinating. Why don't I know this stuff anymore? And I came across and I met this guy called Brian. And he taught me, and he says, but Tim, breathing techniques is not only about calming you if you're stressed or anxious, or helping you sleep better, or lifting you if you're feeling down. It's, instead of replace the coffee in the afternoon, you can do a breathing technique, which I found absolutely amazing. But he said, breath work in a certain manner, in a certain way, can also root out the underlying anxieties that's causing you to react in a negative way to external stresses. Whoa, this is powerful stuff. Why don't I know this? And that led me down this whole journey of discovery of the power of breath. Power of breath. That has now created a whole different paradigm in my program, my coaching programs, where I integrate breathing, including deep breathwork sessions, where it can help what I prefer to call deprogram the subconscious mind of your limiting beliefs, your traumas, your anxieties. I can't do this. I am fat. I am stupid. I am stressed. I am depressed, which are the 2 most powerful words in the English language, by the way. I am. When you say I am, you own it. No. I feel anxious. I feel depressed. Doesn't mean that you are. It's a state, an emotional state. Release the emotional state, releases that stress, that anxiety, that trauma. Powerful.
Wow. I like where we are right now, Tim. You see, as a kid growing up, I viscerally remember when we were doing the marathon, the one technique the teachers used to tell us was breathe through your nose, no matter how tired you are, because then that gives you endurance and that actually tells your brain everything is okay, because normally when you're running, your brain or your subconscious thinks you're running away from danger. So that breathing in your through your mouth is automatically just trying to get you all alert, and then that tires you more than when you are actually just breathing normally and you can actually endure. Now, would I be correct now to say, from what you're saying, many people would have gone and gotten a placebo or a pill or something just to fix a symptom? The best things in life are truly for free, because breathing is available to every one of us.
Look, there's time and a place where a pull from the doctor is necessary, but doesn't mean that it has to be long-term. And many, many clients of mine are coming to me because they've tried the traditional routes, the antidepressives, the blood pressure pills, and years and years and years and years. It's masking. It's not resolving the underlying cause. It's treating the symptom, not the cause. So there's time and place for it. Yeah, let's leave it there. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. We don't have 4 hours here. We could start this discussion.
We're running out of tape.
Yeah, right, exactly. Whereas breathing, if you learn about how to breathe, it can be beneficial in the immediate. In 60 seconds, just through a different breathing technique, I can help people change their state. It's very, 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 very quick, right here and right now. That'll change it. And there's many of them: box breathing, resonant breathing, 4-7-8, help you sleep. There's an amazing array. So I've had many, many clients coming to me. They aren't able to operate still. The antidepressants are just numbing the feelings. They're looking for this alternative, more holistic approach to their well-being, and integrating then different breathing techniques over a period of time really starts to help release that trauma and anxiety, which has held as energy in our bodies, and helps get rid of that reprogramming or deprogramming the limiting beliefs, the trauma, releasing whatever happened in childhood, or loss of divorce, or COVID deaths, family losses, business, whatever it may be. Once you release this and you know what's innately possible in your body, we've been gifted, Prosper, the most amazing healing machines. What we've got here is profound, but we're not taught how to use it. When you're born, you're not given an operating manual. This is how you breathe. But we should be, but we're not. So at some point in life, learn how to operate this amazing machine that we've been gifted. When you do, you'll realize that internally, your body has an innate ability to heal itself. Scientifically proven. Read Dr. John DeMartini's, Joe Dispenza. Read his material. There is so much science behind it if you know how to access it. That's the power of what we've actually got here. You cut yourself, put a plaster on, a few days later, take the plaster off, scab. Self-healing. So if your body can do that, what else is possible? There's my story.
But you see, the thing, Tim, is we've been led to believe that if someone is wearing a white butcher's coat and has got things hanging out from their shoulders and things like that, and if you're lucky, they're holding an iPad or some sort of device that they can just write down, especially a prescription, which half of the people cannot even read what most of these people write anyway. That's the only way to breathing better or having a happier existence. And
that's what we're taught.
And you're saying there's another way.
Without question, there's another way. There always has been. Before this, the let's say modern, but it's not modern, this archaic medicine world that we live in at the moment, before that, which only came about after the First World War, go back in history and see where did all this pharmaceuticals actually start from? Why did it start? Who started it? Oppenheimers and the medical schools. Why don't doctors know about breathing? Because it's not part of they're not taught it. Why don't they know about homeopathy? Because it's not part of what they taught. So you can go back and just follow the money. But before this, there wasn't cancer. there wasn't autism, there wasn't polio, there wasn't all of these ailments which now people are dying from. So what did people used to do? When was the last time you heard of somebody dying of old age? People die of cancer, diabetes, COVID, all these other things. How often do you hear, oh, my gran passed away from old age. She passed away in her sleep. My gran struggled and suffered through cancer. Now go back and ask, but why? What has changed? What is going on? And what I always suggest people do is ask why and research. Doc says, take this pill. Why? What's in that pill? What will it do to me? Is there another way? What's the consequences? New client of mine, just joining me now. He's got an autoimmune disease, 5 years. Horrendous, horrible. Now, I'm not saying breathwork's the solution to it, but definitely helping him feel in a better space. But after 5 years, his kidney's packing up. He's got problems with his stomach from he's popping 5 different pills every day just to try and function. He's in his 40s. He's got a 5-year-old daughter. He said to me yesterday, Tim, I want to walk my daughter down the aisle. Now, he's not going to do it staying on 5 different pills a day, which after 5 years, his body's crashing. So just ask the questions. What else is possible? There's a lot that we are able to do. There's a lot of research out there. And sometimes we just got to look a little bit further than the mainstream narrative and ask, why? What else is there? And yeah, breathing, I've seen the most amazing. I'm humbled. I've got to be honest with you. When I have clients come back to me, noting that I didn't start breathing because of health. I started to get out of stress and anxiety state and working with corporates to not follow that path towards brownout that I was on. Now this whole other paradigm is opening where my clients are coming back. I'm losing weight from breathing. Yes. Wow. The power. When you lose fat, when you lose weight, where does it go? Prosper, did you know that 80% of your weight loss when you lose weight is through your breath? It's called carbon dioxide. You breathe out that weight that you're losing. It doesn't just disappear. It can't. Nothing can disappear. Everything's energy. It just changes states. Ice, water, steam. Fat broken down, CO2 in your lungs.
Wow.
Fact. So where does breathing take us? Man alive, I'm enjoying this discovery every day. I'm learning more.
Absolutely. But Tim, I can't breathe all my fat into a bag of chips because then
no, you can't. Here's a key thing. And I'm so pleased you just said that. Sorry for jumping in. It's a lifestyle change. Don't just breathe for health. Breathe, look at your diet, look at your meditation, your morning routine, your stress patterns. Are you having enough breaks? Are you sleeping? Are you eating at your desk, or do you have that break in the break? Are you getting home on time? There's 8 key things that if I knew you were doing that would identify if you're going to hit burnout in 12 months. There's 8 key signs. Probably don't have time to go in there now. But if you can identify those, you can reverse it. And it means it's a lifestyle change. Your lifestyle is getting you down to burnout. My lifestyle was heading me that way. Change the lifestyle, you can begin to reverse it. So it's definitely, and I'm not saying don't eat the chips. I love chips. Don't give me a big packet of chips, man. Oh, it's gone. I have to buy small packs because if it's a big pack, it'll just take me a little bit longer, but it's still gone.
Yeah, but you see, they just fill them chocolates with air, But you now have the the professional pointer, right? And that's how you're now helping sort of leaders align with their own personal purpose with obviously business strategies. Can you maybe share with us what that entails and how people can actually maybe start looking into how they can work with you through your business?
So the name professional pointer came, I was always looking for somebody to point me in a direction that I didn't know where to go. I was on a crossroads. You either go that way or go this way. And I was sitting there in the crossroads. I don't know. Can somebody please point me in the right direction? So I now point professionals and teams in a new direction to find purpose and meaning in life outside of the stressed state. So when I'm working with C-suites or executives, even entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches, very stressed. It's working for yourself, as you know. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. Yay, I've got time freedom.
I don't know.
Now I just need to put it my.
I don't know about you, Tim, but I'm working right now. All right, and
exactly. So yeah, you get lots of freedom, but where's the money freedom come with it? So anyway, all right. So entrepreneurs, people, and the very first thing is with the breathing styles that I teach and with what's called a transformational breathwork journey is to help calm that anxious state. And remember that image of the cartoon character, right, with the red? Drop that down. Let's reduce that anxiety and that feeling of stress, which is an emotional state. Then you can start to think with a little bit more clarity, find a bit more peace, sleep a little bit easier so that your body, your nervous system has a chance to reset so that the next day you can operate that much more effectively and start finding solutions. Then we can start to say, right, now let's start identifying what are the causes of your negative reaction to these external stresses. Stress is an internal reaction, emotional state to external circumstances. But those external circumstances are never going away. So it's your internal state that we need to have a look at. Why are you reacting negatively? Are you operating like me, outside of my zone of values? Are you no longer passionate about what you're doing? Is there a different alignment? What else is going on? And that's where we work. And I've got a 6-month program. I've got a 5-1. I've got a 12-month program, a 5-week program, and a 12-month program, depending on what's needed. But a lot of the times within the corporate world, and this is also a lot of scientific research around how to avoid what they call burnout. I call brownouts. As you've said, brownout's not a well-known name. I hope that I'm going to be bringing it out as well because it has such strong meaning. Is that one of the things to reverse it is putting in daily small drip-fed new habits. Every day, just something new. And I'm talking 2-3 minutes. Just something small, whether it's gratitude or AWE, or go out in nature, barefoot, on the grass. Every day, you're going to find me on the lagoon at sunrise. I'm blessed where I live here in Langebaan in South Africa. Got a beautiful lagoon. Every day with my dogs, I'm there, barefoot on the sand, doing my breathing, being in nature, being blessed and being grateful for the beautiful place I have, my gratitudes. So it can be as simple as before you go to sleep, a little notepad next to your bed. Write down 5 things, maybe 3 if all you can think about it, good things that happened that day. Maybe you had a stressful day, but find 3 things that you enjoyed, even if it was that beautiful cup of coffee in the morning. Something simple. And just those small drip-fed principles, what I call mindful moments, every day adds up over time. 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. When you combine it with a couple of other modalities and breathing techniques and things through the day to become what's called a conscious connected breather, your awareness of your breathing state in times of stress and struggle. Shut my mouth, breathe through my nose. Now you're starting to have a look and starting to reverse slowly, slowly, slowly. It takes time, not too long, a couple of months. And you start to feel a bit more peace and a bit more calm. Can be quicker. I've got a client who's in only 2 weeks. The calmness that she's now got when I speak to her, she speaks with a smile, not with tears in her eyes. It's amazing. But she took an entire shift of lifestyle. And she's already reaping the rewards for it. So if there's, share one last thing, because I know we're running out of time. I value this. If there's one thing, Prosper, that I want your viewers to take away, is this. Shut your mouth. Because in that way, you're going to calm yourself straight away. And I say it with love and affection for everybody because I've got your best interests at heart. Shut your mouth.
Wow. And for so many people, I mean, this might come in new, but you're already helping a lot of business professionals just to break free from the stress cycle, because we just keep putting ourselves in all these cycles and we don't actually stop and breathe, and the moment we do that, our world comes to play. Now, where would people go to on the internet to find you, Tim?
So I've got my website, professionalpointer.com, easy enough. LinkedIn as well. That's where I'm active a lot of the time. Every day I'm doing posts, and I give. I also have a free community as well. On my community, there's breathing techniques. I've got a book on there called From Burnout to All Out in 60 Seconds, where a lot of information if you want to dive deeper in breathing. I do a lot of my programs on there. I do lives on there. So my community is a great place, which is free. There's a lot of resources and material there as well. So I'll share that with you so you can forward it on to everybody. And that's called the Pathfinder community. And I'm available. Love to connect with anybody for a 30-minute stress test deep dive, if you like. It's not a sales pitch at all. It's me serving and sharing and helping. And I believe that's the way that I receive return, is by being in service and making an impact every day just to one more person. That's my goal.
Now, Tim, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today, but I just wanted us to revisit something. This journey of yours started with you wanting to climb a mountain, which is Kilimanjaro, and that was an external challenge. Yet you had an internal challenge, which is to climb the mountain of team.
Wow.
And having, come to that, I viscerally believe that so many people have all of those combined. Now, my observation is you literally give people back to themselves. But my question to you now is, did you find what you were looking for, Tim?
So by asking, did I find it, it means that there's a journey has an end. And I believe there's no end. Because as you're getting closer to what you're seeking, so who you are changes. What you seek then changes and grows. So as you get to a so-called destination of what you're seeking, something else comes, because now you've grown and you would like more. You want to achieve more. You grow your goals. So have I discovered it yet? No. Will I ever? Probably not. Because it evolves every single day, every week, every month, every year. It grows and grows and grows. Am I on a path and a journey that I find passion in, that I find reward in, that I find that I'm impacting people in? Yes, without question. Professional speaking, I love stage, one to many, impacting many. Focus. That's why I love being on shows, and I love being with you, because it's getting the message out on a stronger way to impact more people. That takes me closer and closer and closer. And so then, as I'm getting closer, I have a new goal to set, another big, hairy, audacious goal. What's going next? Where am I going? How am I going to push myself further? How am I going to keep moving forward? So then, yes, without question.
How about that mountain?
Here's a great thing about a mountain. I think it's called the Everest effect. Have you ever heard of that? I think that's the correct term. More mountaineers die on the way down than up, because their goal is to climb Everest. When they climb Everest, they've gone through a massive amount of emotional, mental, physical stress to get to the top, right? They've now gotten to the top and they've achieved their goal. The goal is to actually get home safe. So have I climbed my mountain? I'm still climbing it. But it's not the peak that counts. It's to climb it and get back down and go back up and get back down and go back up and keep going down. So you keep going. I don't want to just get to the top. I want to get to the top and go, beautiful view, take it in, love it. Let me go back down. Where's the next peak? Wow, look at this view. It's even more magnificent. Let's go back down. Let's keep going. So that's where I say there's not an ultimate end goal. it's a continuous journey. And it's a roller coaster ride. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bells and whistles and roses. Sometimes I got to take myself outside and say, Tim, just breathe.
I bet now you're just jumping from peak to peak, and then you're making it sound easy. But Tim, I can't thank you enough for the time and the insightful conversation that we just had. I mean, your life story and your experience have so much value for a lot of people. Things that are seemingly as non-consequential as breathing. That's the first thing we do anyway when we step into this world, and we think we already know how to do it. Yet that is the actual gift that we really have in order for us to be, do, and have a happier existence. So I can't thank you enough for sharing this with us on the Online Prosperity Show.
Prosper, appreciate you so much. Thanks so much. Thanks for the brilliant questions and the amazing show, and keep changing lives, man. Keep spreading the message. It's powerful. It's wonderful. And to have met you is an honor of mine as well. So thank you very much. And to all the audience, everybody out listening out there, have an absolutely breath-filled day.
I like that. And, I really, really appreciate him. And if you're still watching this right now, thank you so much. I actually encourage you to really reflect on your own journey and ask yourself this question. Are you actually living by design or by default? And I think Tim's story actually reminds us that it's never too late to realign ourselves with our true purpose. And it only just takes one simple thing: shut your mouth. Now, if this episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more transformative content like this. And if you know somebody who's going through stress and is about to give it all up, just send them this episode and ask them to just shut their mouth. And I think you would have done the world a deed. And if you're already a subscriber of the Online Prosperity Show, that's fine. Just join us on the next episode, where we're going to be exploring ideas to cultivate a happier existence. Until next time, breathe deeply, live authentically, and design the life that you desire. Bye for now.